And welcome back in to another brand new episode of Tribal Council Chat here on the Reality Realm Network. As always, we are your hosts. My name is Bruce Heller.
And my name's Brett Parnell.
And let's dive in. So last week we did my New Era All Stars fan cast, and I did it as a brains, brawn, beauty based on how they played the game, strategic, physical, social, and that was a ton of fun. And we've got Brett's cast this week, which he's texted me about 3 or 4 times since we recorded the last episode with little teasers of, oh, I just changed something. You're going to love this. So I'm excited to dive in.
All right, let's get going. So this is my Survivor 50 New Era All-Stars cast. Bruce, I loved what you did last week, going back to our locations episode and setting it in the Moroccan desert right on the Atlantic. So I decided to do the same thing with my locations episode that we did together. And we are going to set this season in the Sian Biosphere Reserve, which is in the Quintana Roo state of Mexico. It is about 4.5, 5 hours south of the tourist mecca that is Cancun, and one of the most beautiful natural parks anywhere that you can find in the Americas.
That's awesome.
And what you're looking at here, just so you know, is not where the beaches are going to be. This is the Tulum Ruins. It's a site that's visited by hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions a year, but they'll be playing a bit south of here in pictures that you're going to see soon.
I love this. And I love that your season takes place in a location you're so familiar with, too, which I love that imagining the locations of mine, but you actually know what you're talking about. So that's awesome.
Yeah, for the audience who doesn't know, I envision myself living in Mexico someday. It's my favorite country in the world.
Nice.
All right, so moving on, we are going to start. I remember, Bruce, last week that you did Arabic tribe names for the local language. I
Shout
am
out to
gonna
ChatGPT on that one.
I am gonna start with the Tazikin tribe, or eagle in English. As it may be obvious right away, this is not Spanish, which
Yeah, what
many people know the language in Mexico being Spanish. This is the indigenous Mayan language that I've chosen to name the tribes after. And I've taken the two tribe names, at least for the starting tribes, from the two national animals that are seen on the Mexican flag, the first being an eagle.
Nice. And I noticed this says that this is the David's tribe. So I love that we're doing David versus Goliath here.
Yep,
Is
that's
that
it.
them as people like it's supposed to be, or is it how I did it where it's gameplay? Just so I know what we're talking about as we're going through.
No, this is really based off of the cast as who they are as people, what their background is coming into the first season of the game, and how the background as David or Goliath would really impact their approach to Survivor and their approach to human interaction in general.
I love that. So let's dive in.
So yeah, we're playing a David versus Goliath 2. It was originally a new players season, but we're going to use it for a returning players cast this time. So the Tz'kin tribe will always wear red. We're using the two outer stripes on the Mexican flag. One tribe's going to start in red, one tribe's going to start in green.
I love that.
Moving on, do you want to get started with our first winner from this season?
Of course I do.
All right. First male to be on the David's tribe, or Tz'kin, is Jam Jam Aracho from Survivor 44, the winner.
I love seeing Jam return. Such a fun, kind, likable player. Very smiley person. Would love to see him play again. I'd also love to just hang out with him for a day. He just seems
Yeah,
like such a
same.
fun person to be around.
He does absolutely would, like you say, love to hang out with him. I think he's great on this tribe. He's won the game. He can lead this group forward. He really does have that David mentality coming from Puerto Rico into a game that was, I think he was the first person to live in Puerto Rico to play the game, if I'm not corrected. And and won the game that season.
Yeah,
All right, ready to move on to Survivor 41?
I am.
Second member of the David's tribe, we have Ricard.
I love this. Ricard was definitely the best strategist on 41. Going into the finale, a lot of us in the fan base, myself included, were saying things like, well, if Ricard makes final three, he wins hands down, but there's no way they'll let him get there.
Yeah,
So, great game his first season. I feel like he may give him a reputation coming in and may make him an early target, but would love to see him return.
yeah, absolutely. So would I. Um, moving on, we're gonna go to a player from 46. Are you ready for it?
Yes,
Charlie.
I love Charlie. I was so happy while I was rooting for Kenzie, I was so happy that Charlie also made final two because they were kind of my two favorite players of the season. I'm happy she won just because I was right, but would love to see Charlie return. I I was gonna say I absolutely think he can win. He's proven he can win. He got super close.
Yeah, I
Would,
agree.
would love to see him come back.
Charlie was a player that I was kind of like, which tribe do I put him in, or do I not put him at all in this team? And because he does really have characteristics of both tribes, I settled to keep him in the David's tribe because, despite, for example, being an NCAA athlete, Charlie was a walk-on, so that really gives him that experience. Um, he's a law student, so that definitely will help him move further in the game. But ultimately, I settled on him here. He could have went anywhere, but I think it's a good spot.
I think it's a great spot for him. I love this choice and would excited to see him play again.
All right, moving on to our next pick, we have Jesse, probably the best player to not win of this era.
I love Jesse. Both just watching him play the game entertains me at the base level of my fandom of him. But I love his personality. I love his backstory and the fact that he has spent time behind bars. But look at how much he's conquered since then. I just I love Jesse. One of
Yeah,
my favorite players of the new era for sure.
absolutely. I think with that background, like you say, it makes perfect sense to put him on this tribe. But no matter what returning player season you do for 50, Jesse has to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
And then moving on to our final male, David, we have Caleb, the first Canadian to make a return.
I do love Caleb. He's not Batman. He is the Canadian. He went home such a huge character early in the pre-merge edit of 45, ends up being like one of the first or second boot post 45 merge, but I think he's got a ton of potential to go a lot deeper in the game than he did in 45. He just kind of happened to be on a season with an absolutely stacked cast
Yeah,
in 45, both game wise and personality wise. So
yeah, absolutely. Like you say, his season was just completely stacked, but also the first player to successfully use shot in the dark. So that's kind of a cool piece of Survivor history.
yeah, for sure.
So with these five to start, like we did on yours, if we were to podcast about the male David tribe, who would you be looking at?
I feel like Ricard and Jesse are two people I'd look at because they're gonna have reputations coming in.
Yeah,
They're gonna be targets, probably depending on who the women are on this tribe. And just they're both capable of shaking a target, I feel like,
yep,
but to see how they go about it, I don't see them working together very well because they both like to be the one driving the strategy and driving the plans. But it'd be interesting to see how they shake that target off, would be the storyline I'd be looking for.
I agree. Now, before we move into the women, just one thing that I wanted to mention to the audience that was neat. I did not do what you did and get an even number of players from each season. But one thing I was able to accomplish, especially with a new era cast, is that I did meet the new CBS diversity requirement. So that was kind of cool once I looked at it.
That is awesome. I love that you did that. I kind of wish I made a point to purposely do that, but I love that you were able to accomplish that.
All right. And moving on now to the women, we're ready for another winner. We're going to stick in 45 and we're going to go with D.
Yes. As our audience knows, our audience might be tired of hearing me say this. I know at least one audience member of Tribal Council Chat is annoyed with hearing me talk about how much I love D Valladares. And that's Kevin, my co-host on Pit Stop Pals, but oh well. He can get over it. Because she is not only I was gonna say GOAT. GOAT means greatest of all time. Goni, Goane, greatest of the new era. I don't just such a great player. Physically won two or three individual immunities. I don't remember the exact number.
Yeah.
Socially, I mean, she had two different number ones that both knew the other. She considered the other person to be a number one also. And neither one of them felt threatened by the other person, which is impressive. And strategically, I mean, every time D said, oh, this person's a problem, that person needs to go in a confessional, they went home that episode. So,
Yep.
just an all around, such a dominant player, someone
And
I love watching. Seems like a really fun person to hang out with and talk to. She's was the player co-host on Fire this past season. Gonna miss her on that show, but I love this pick so much. I love D. One of my
excellent.
top 10, top 11 favorite winners.
And like we were talking about, is it a life question? Is it a game question? She's another one I was struggling to know where to put her because she was so dominant on her season. But like living in Miami and being the child of Cuban refugees, I thought she'd be a perfect kind of leader for the David's tribe to bring so much experience to the game.
Yeah, I love this pick.
All right.
Her she's another one though. I feel like I'd be rooting for her hard on this season already, but I feel like she's probably coming in with a target. So it'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see how she shakes it.
Moving on, our next player is going to Survivor 43, and we have Cassidy.
I love Cassidy's a great pick here. Kind of underrated. Underrated physically. She was on the Braun tribe in mine, which a lot of people probably wouldn't think of looking at her size wise. But won three individual immunities. Three. No, D won three for sure. Cassidy's the one that I couldn't remember if it was two or three.
Yeah.
But I think it was two. But won multiple individual immunities. Won a few eliminations on Challenge USA too. But going back to Survivor,
Don't
also a
remind
pretty
me
good.
about that one.
Do what?
I said, don't remind me about her winning an elimination on Challenge USA too.
I'm gonna be honest. Until you said that, I forgot it was against Michelle. I just remembered her winning one. But good enough social and strategic player to make final tribal council and get a jury vote. Would have gotten my jury vote, but that's based on the edit we saw. There's so much more that happens outside the edit. I don't need to go down my rabbit hole of what happened, what didn't we see on 43 confusion again. I've done that lately, so I'll skip the rabbit hole this time. I love this pick. This is this is fun so far.
Yeah. So I agree. I thought Cassidy would be a great pick here. She did overcome a lot on her season and also has excelled both in Survivor and the challenge. Someone who I easily came second in Survivor, went far in the challenge. I could see her being a champion of both shows if she gets another chance in either one.
Yeah.
Moving on, this is where we're going to start seeing some pre existing relationships play effect in this tribe. Well, in this game, I should say, because there's a lot in the other tribe too. But with Cassidy, next comes Carla.
Yeah, so a couple things come to mind. First off, on my tribe, I had Ricard and Sian both on the tribe, and I mentioned they were friends in the game, but some rumors had swirled around that they weren't so tight at Ponderosa or in real life anymore.
Yeah.
That whole arc that happened with Ricard and Sian, where half of it was outside the game. The entire thing happened inside the game with Cassidy and Carla.
Yeah.
They were working together for a while, and then just out of it felt like out of nowhere kind of became rivals and were working against each other just as fiercely as they'd been working with each other. Seeing them on a tribe together again would be interesting, though. I feel like I don't I just personally I don't see them working together again the way they did. I think they're both too smart to start taking shots at each other right away. I
Yeah.
feel like it'd be kind of a Cold War thing where they're gathering up their own numbers
I'd
and
agree.
just kind of passive aggressively organizing to take a shot against the other one. But neither one, they'd both be too smart to take a shot immediately because that would put a target on both of them.
Yep. I'd agree with that. Moving on, we're gonna go right to the very recent season, and with Survivor 46, and that's Tiffany. Someone I think if she would have played her idol, might have gone all the way to the end of this game, and was really playing all three elements of the game very strong before eventually being blindsided with an idol in her pocket.
Yeah, and the thing is, everyone says, oh, if she had known to play her idol. If it wouldn't have been for Q's obsession with the six that never really happened, nobody would have even known she had that, because the only reason they knew she had is because Q spilled it to everyone.
You're
So
right.
I she wouldn't have even had to know to play it probably because no one would have known she had it, and she wasn't even a target until people figured out she had the idol. So
Yeah.
I'd love to see her come back, see if she can capitalize on the few mistakes she did make, but even those weren't that many. So
And
that'd
I
be
don't know
interesting.
what her relationship with Charlie was really like. We didn't see that a lot, but it would be neat to see the two of them on the same tribe again.
It
Heroes
would.
Davids.
It would be for sure.
And then finally, we have one more player within the Davids tribe in Survivor. Sorry, in this tribe at all. We're going back to Survivor 45. There was a couple players I was deciding between somewhere on your tribe, and this one didn't come up. So I thought I'd put Kendra here.
Interesting pick. Kendra gets forgotten about because, like we
Yeah,
said, 45 is so stacked with personalities. You've got people like D, you've got people like Jake, you've got Drew, you've got so many just big personalities, Katura,
yep,
that Kendra kind of gets lost in the shuffle the way Caleb did. Probably even more so. Caleb gets mentioned even more than Kendra does, but Kelly Nalbandian.
yep.
But this is a great pick. I'd love to see her come back.
And she was one of those players I thought of kind of going back to the original Survivor All Stars, of like Sian was out early and wasn't a huge factor in Thailand, but really set her mark on All Stars, coming sixth place. And I think Kendra could be in that kind of a spot.
I will say I don't think you give Sheehan enough credit for being remembered from Thailand because she did go home in the stupid fake merge thing.
Yeah,
Which, to be fair, watch that back. That wasn't Jeff deceiving them. He never said the word merge.
yep.
The Thailand cast just did the most Thailand thing possible and just assumed wrong. But yeah, some another example
There
of
certainly wasn't an hourglass all the way back in season 5.
no. And could Jeff have been more clear? Yes. Did the cast of Thailand do the most Survivor Thailand thing possible and just completely assume they were merged, even though he never said the word merge?
Yep.
And he's usually very clear with the merge. Yes. But I love Kendra as a pick. I could see her being that person, like you said, that didn't get a ton of notoriety on their first season, but does becomes a name their second season. Look at
And
going back to All Star, the winner of the season,
yeah,
Amber
I was just going to say
Burkett
that.
Mariano. Watch Australian Outback and tell me that if you were casting, you would have picked her to return solely based off of that.
Yeah. Good
because I
point.
don't think I would have. But she came back and played a really smart, not the most like strategically driving force game, but played a really smart game that got her the win in All Stars. And maybe that can be Kendra. Who knows?
Who knows? All right, so what do you think about the female picks on this tribe? We have Kendra, Tiffany, Carla, Cassidy, and Dee.
I'm the first thing that comes to my mind because we just talked about Kendra is her and Dee. Like we've seen 45 seems to all be one giant happy friend group outside of the game,
Yep.
but we don't know how close they were in the game. We know
Yeah.
Kendra was close with Kelly, and we saw a confessional in an episode where Dee said Kelly might be a problem for me,
Yep.
and then Kelly went home.
And while
So
you say that, honorable mention to Kelly, she was probably within the girls of the David tribe, the one I cut right at the end in favor of Kendra.
yeah, and that's fine. I love Kelly, but this kind of Kendra feels like a better pick here, and Kendra wasn't on my season, so
Nice. All right, moving on. We have the Khan tribe. If you know your Mexican flag, it's a eagle and a snake.
nice. Is this their beach?
This is their beach. So this is another part of the Siocon Biosphere Reserve that's at just like the original one. They're actually very close together, although you may see this one's much darker colors. Really, this photo was just taken during a storm. So the two beaches look very similar, but it gives you a good sense of like what would be a sunny day to go out and fish in this area versus what could be a rainy day for the Goliath tribe. Um, and what types of weather patterns could come in and make life in this area relatively difficult.
Yeah, and I will say both of your beaches are way more like trees and vegetated and are better supplied for things like fire and shelter than even the best equipped of my three beaches. So you're certainly being kinder to your tribes with beach selection than I was.
Yeah.
Other than one of
Prob-
my tribes got a giant rock arch to
Probably
sleep under,
just
so they
based
didn't
on
need to
that
build a
we
shelter.
don't have the world's largest desert in this part of the world.
True.
All right. So my next one, we're going to start with the men again. I may have a very controversial pick coming up. I'm curious to know your opinions on a return from this man. And we're going to start with another winner, and that's Mike Gabler.
I'd be okay with seeing him play again. He's not at the top of my list. I kind I didn't love him on 43. I kind of like him more now. Just the contrarian in me wants to revolt against the Survivor Twitter mob that just despises him. So that makes me like him a little bit more, but that's just my inner petty contrarianness.
My
This,
thought was it would be neat to see he and Cassidy on opposing tribes
yeah,
after all the history that they went through in their season.
which the two of them didn't really have any history with each
No,
other
but
other than going like one beat the other one at the end.
yeah.
But
And then maybe playing again, this might give Gabler a chance to kind of, even though he won the game, he proved everything he needed to. This gives him the shot of maybe trying to explain his game a bit better than what we saw in his season. Almost kind of like a Michelle in 40 when he was at war.
yeah, I might have to delete the Twitter app off of my phone if Gabler returns, but I would love it. Not love it. I'd like it. I'd like to see him come back. He's not at the top of my list, but I don't hate it. I like this pick. Okay.
All right. Moving on to our next male Goliath. And kind of like that, I put someone like Gabler in the Goliath tribe for military experience and really where he came from. Again, not really related to the game. Moving on, our next pick is Hoboken Mike Turner.
I love
Fight.
this. But we have two Goliath men so far. They're both named Mike.
I forgot to say it. Maybe a little spoiler. This is the same name tribe.
Oh gosh. I
It
love
would be a
this.
mess for television just because of what TV has. I don't think this tribe's realistic for how production would want to operate, but hey, it would be fun.
Why can't two people named Mike be
You'll see.
accurate? We got two people named Rob on a tribe.
That's true.
Shout out to Shapira.
And we
Rob's
had
sister Nino's.
two Kims on a tribe, two Jennas on a season.
Yeah. Were the two Jennas ever? No, they weren't ever
They
on
went
the same
together.
tribe. Never mind. But gosh, see, we make fun of our, not make fun of. We comment how many All Stars references we make for it not being either of our top 5 favorite seasons, or maybe even top 10.
Yeah.
But this just lends itself to All Stars references so well. So I'm not even gonna.
So we have
try.
Mike here, firefighter from Hoboken, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Definitely fits in with the Goliath tribe. Very physically capable for his tribe. Despite being the older guy, he really excelled in 42, and I think he would excel again in 50. Came just up a bit short with some final tribal antics from Marianne, the winner of the season, but going into tribal, I think there was just as good of a case to say that a lot of people went in thinking that Mike was going to win the game.
This might be a hot take. I'm not sure if this is or not. Mike probably would have gotten my jury vote still.
Yep, same as me.
He fumbled final tribal a little bit where Marianne just excelled, but he would have gotten my jury vote. I like Mike Turner a lot. Would love to see him come back.
All right. Our next player for the Goliath tribe, Danny McRae.
I love Danny. He was on my bronze tribe.
Yeah.
Large, very large human being. Not Jonathan Large, but very large human being.
In this season, I'll just give a little shout out. He is the largest human being. There is no nice. Jonathan on this.
Wow, Thor didn't make it. Nice. So, but well, large and great physically, but socially also just seems like a very nice, down to earth, likable guy. And I feel like we didn't see a ton of it because he was on a season with people like Sian and Ricard.
Yeah.
And they wanted to play Erica up a little bit as a strategist. So we didn't see it a ton, but I think Danny has the ability to be very good strategically also. Yeah.
And I think fits in perfectly here as a Goliath. Danny played in the NFL. So, I mean, that's about as descriptive of Goliath as you can get in American culture. And he's won the Challenge USA. I had to throw his challenge picture in because if anyone happens to be listening, I'm kind of hoping that the lady standing next to him becomes the first MTV to CBS crossover and maybe plays Survivor someday. So I thought I'd throw this picture in there. Totally one of the more legendary players on MTV's The Challenge was Danny's partner on the season.
She's definitely one of the legends of the newer era. Her being on Survivor would be fun for a couple reasons, but I was rooting the two of them being paired together on World Championship. I was rooting for them when they got paired together because I love both of them. But the two of them were playing very different games and couldn't seem to get along on anything. So,
all right. So I told you this was the same name tribe. We had two Mikes. We have Danny Massa, New York City firefighter from Survivor 44.
This is not a pick that I was expecting at all. He's one you don't see get picked for these things almost ever. I kind of like the pick, honestly. But I'd be interested to see what he does coming back. I was not expecting that, though. So you genuinely surprised me there. That's cool.
Interesting. He was a player that I thought went out. I wasn't sure how he was doing, but I do think I did see some potential there, and I think he'd be a really interesting character to see return. And also, I mean, would be interesting to see a firefighter from the Bronx and a firefighter from New Jersey in an alliance together. Yeah. Would they work together, or would the FDNY and the Hoboken Fire Department have a bit of a rivalry? Who knows?
That tribe's gonna have fire at camp, though.
Yeah.
Because Gabler also won fire making with an Inferno. So
yeah, he did. All right. And going another kind of odd pick here, but going to the final male from the Goliath tribe, someone who works in the legal system, may have lied to his tribe about what side of the legal system he was on, and that's why I put him in a Goliath and broke a challenge. We have Jake O'Kane.
Oh, I love this so much. Jake was kind of. I'm trying to think of a comparison other than Charlie Brown because Owen called himself Charlie Brown at one point. But poor Jake just couldn't seem to ever get any steam going. He was survived being the target 2 or 3 times, which was awesome. Such a fun personality. Jake makes me smile. I like him a lot. I was hoping you'd have him on yours. I was trying to figure out if I could fit him onto any of my tribes, but because he got this edit of just things keep going wrong for you, they really didn't show him excelling exponentially at any of the 3 categories I had, so I couldn't fit him in over other people. But I love Jake so much. Him breaking it the final immunity challenge in frustration and then afterwards apologizing to Jeff for it is hysterical.
Yeah.
So that's great. Also, with 2 firefighters and Gabler, I feel the need to mention Butch from Survivor Amazon, who, if you haven't watched Survivor Amazon, gathered a crap ton of firewood and decided to pile it up in a little next to the fire shelter. And it wind blew while they were, and the fire was next to the big shelter, and wind blew while they were at a challenge, and all of Butch's firewood caught fire. Their shelter caught fire. All of their stuff caught. Rob Sesternino's magic 8 ball somehow survived, but everything else burned up in the fire. So put Butch on this tribe.
Yeah, that would be great. All right, so you may have noticed that I started with a winner for my first 3.
I am moving, by the way, to go grab my computer charger. So if my screen is dark, that's why. I'm still listening.
Okay. We'll just wait till you get back. No problem.
You can keep going. I'm carrying my computer while I'm moving because it's going to die.
Fair enough. So you may have noticed that I started with a winner for my first 3 sections, right?
Uh-huh.
We're not doing that this time because I just really don't think that there is a female Goliath winner of the new era, despite some great female winners, unless I wanted to put D there. I think Erica and Marianne definitely would fit more in the David section, but I don't really feel like I need to see them play again. And unfortunately for Kenzie, she just didn't make it onto this cast. But I would put her in the David's tribe, and I did the same thing with D. So it's going to be 5 non-winners for this tribe, but 3 winners isn't bad, I would say.
I agree.
And let's start it off for the female Goliath tribe with the closest thing we have to a winner, and that's Maria, someone who would have won if she wasn't kind of cheated out of a final 5 immunity.
Yeah, I'd love to see Maria come back. She's been getting a lot of criticism and hate from the fan base lately that I don't feel like is warranted. Do I love the way she handled things? No, not at all. But she played the game, and she played her game. So I would love to see her come back. She's a very strong player, and I think she could do really well on a return trip to the island.
I agree with that. She definitely played her game. She absolutely has to be considered probably one of the first picks that you go to if you're casting this theme as a female Goliath in here. She really ran the show until she was tag teamed up on to be voted out, and otherwise probably would have went even further.
Yeah, and I am back now, back in the basement.
All right,
went all the
great.
way upstairs and grabbed my computer charger and came back downstairs. So
okay. Now moving on to our second pick, we have also from 46, Venus Vafa.
oh my gosh, you put Venus and Maria on the same tribe after.
I sure did.
Which they didn't really have interact at all in the game. other than like Maria coming up to Venus one time and saying, "You come at people too aggressively,"
Yeah.
which was kind of an aggressive way to go about it, ironically, but I digress. But the reason these two being on a tribe is going to be something I'm looking at as we go into the simulation and as we kind of make up headcanon for this season, is that recently, this all happened online recently, as someone ordered a cameo from Venus asking why she thought Maria didn't give Charlie her jury vote. And she basically said Maria was bitter that he outlasted her. Hugh decided to get involved for some reason and say stop lying, even though none of this involved him, but he's cute, so he's going to bring the entertainment.
Can I just say we talked about 45 being a season of like we are all best friends, and 46 is like anything but that right now.
Yeah, so long story short, kind of Twitter beef between Venus and Maria that Hugh some reason got in the middle of and came at Venus, and then either yesterday or today posted a picture of them and sent with captioned it friends or something like that. Basically, there's a video from after 45 of them all at some Airbnb dressing up as different types of birds for no reason. That Venus and Maria are kind of the opposite of that video. So
Yeah.
I love that you put them both on the same track. Venus was my winner pick for
Yeah,
46 based on the EW cast release and the questionnaire that we read off of. I realized in the first couple episodes that wasn't going to happen, but she went really deep into the game.
She did.
She went deep enough that I felt good about that as a pick. I don't feel
I think
terrible
she'd
about
be
that.
somebody that is very smart, maybe not as experienced as some of the other players that we saw in her season in life, and is just younger. Nothing she can do about that. But I think on a second chance, Venus is someone who could really learn from some of the mistakes that she made on 46 and go even deeper on 50.
I've said this before, but I kind of compare her to Abby Maria in a way. Just with Venus, it's because I just think it's a thing where she's young and she's just a very blunt person. But I think the way she talks to people, she doesn't understand that it just kind of comes off as sounding rude sometimes in the same way that Abby didn't on 25 or 31.
Yeah.
And kind of Cass in a way too, but I think Cass knows what she's doing.
That's a great segue because you just called Venus young and blunt. Do you want some more drama? Let's do it.
Oh boy.
Sydney.
Nice pick, by the way. I approve of that picture.
I put her in here. I think she's someone that of anyone has to be considered for any sort of returning season, simply because her game was totally robbed by production. I think she's kind of in that Boston Rob figure of season 8, where Rob, just like Sydney, Rob went home before the merge, but he was a huge character for those 6 episodes that he was there for, as was she. And even though Rob left early, he came back, came second, and eventually won the game in 22.
Real quick from our cases I'm looking up, but I feel like Rob went home at the merge. He just went home before the jury.
That could be the case. I mean, I'm going to be honest. You and I have said this. Sydney Siegel made the jury on season 40. So he made the merge on season 41.
Yeah, Rob made the merge. He just did it. The person after him was the first juror.
Right, but so did she.
Yeah, but here's the thing that's interesting. And this is a personality thing. This isn't about something else that like I don't know enough about to get into. Her and Venus, just strictly personality wise, what we saw on the show. Gosh, the two of them, if they ever disagree on something, they're both very blunt and will say whatever's on their mind.
That's why it would be amazing television.
And they both seem kind of stubborn. And this, like I said, this is not based off of anything other than what we saw on the show. There's other reasons I think the two of them would eventually end up beefing, but
no question. I didn't want to comment on that, but
I'm not saying what it is. People can go online and look it up, but
yeah.
based purely on what we saw in the show, I'm here for this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Steven, when he came on with us and I used Venus for a line blindside first boot, commented on, and I agree that Venus is a very beautiful person. Sydney is too, so I'm okay with having both of them on this tribe. I like this tribe so far, objectively speaking.
All right. Moving on to season 42. We have another player that I think kind of left the game in unfair circumstances, but that really fits that Goliath mold, and that's Tori.
Interesting. Yeah, Tori kind of gave me the Angelina vibe of
Yeah,
I she's kind of annoying, but I don't dislike her as much as her castmates seem to. Because I don't know, I felt like she was annoying the people around her. I liked her, but
you'll notice for Goliaths in this theme, since we are using returning players, both on the men's side and the women's side, I tried to go for as big of personalities as I could get in addition to some big game players.
yeah, the same way my bronze tribe was just ridiculous challenge wise. Your Goliath tribe is just is gonna be ridiculous story wise.
Yeah,
They're gonna get all the screen time, and the entire David's tribe is gonna get a purple edit.
pretty much. But yeah, Tori was playing a great social game, great physical game, and it just when they had that tribes like two tribals fell apart for her. But I think that she would be great on a returning season.
Yeah.
We got one more cast member. I just told you that it's all big personality players. Season 45. Emily's joining this tribe.
Emily was one of my Emily was one of my early favorites in 45 before D started because D didn't get a ton of screen time early on. I loved Emily's arc though, that she started out as if Hannah Rose didn't just quit the first day of the game for no reason,
Yeah,
Emily was gonna go home.
she
Talk
was.
about being blunt. She was getting on everyone's nerves, just honesty to the point of being a buzzkill and
Can
kind of rolling her eyes about everything.
can you
She
imagine
grows
how
from that,
many
ends up being the last standing person from her original tribe and being taken out because she's such a threat.
Can you imagine how many blunt confessionals we're getting with Emily, Sydney, Venus, and Maria all on the same tribe?
Maria can hold her tongue better than the other three,
Yeah,
but gosh, not even confessionals, just the things they're gonna say to each other around camp.
it'll be entertaining to say the least.
Yeah.
All right, any thoughts on these five female picks before we go into the sim? We're almost done.
Yeah, I'm watching the dynamic between Maria and Venus, see if they can
Yeah,
put the past in the past. I think I think their games would the way they play the game might fit together well. Emily would be I don't see Emily going home first on this tribe, but
no,
I don't know who I see her working with necessarily.
I
Maybe
could.
one of the guys.
Yeah, I could see the guys.
I don't see her being super close with any of these women though.
Interesting.
Just a gut
All
feel.
right,
Maybe her and Sydney. I don't
that's
know.
what I was thinking.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see.
All right. So there we have our full tribes, as we just talked about, but everyone can now see them on screen.
I'm rooting for D. Just say putting that out there before we start the tribe. Rooting for my
I could have
homegirl on
figured.
this one.
And we've now gone to a swap, as we see in David versus Goliath after a few episodes. I'm just going to throw out a notable game moment here. You'll notice that Jake O'Kane is gone. Jake only got one vote the night that he was gone. Sydney Siegel played an immunity idol and negated 8 votes against her.
Wow. So this
So
swap is interesting. On the first tribe, which is purple, you've got 4 original Davids:
Yep.
Charlie,
And Venus.
Jesse, Caleb, Carla, against 1 original Goliath with Venus.
And just to throw out a bit of Mexican knowledge, Kin, Kin, the first tribe, is the Sun tribe. Chak is the Rain tribe. And Metzli is the Moon tribe.
Nice. I think with Kin, I think Venus goes first here. It's numbers 4-1.
Yeah.
But also she just doesn't seem like the type to make friends and bond with people quickly. Because she's kind of abrasive on the outer. She described herself as Regina George in her questionnaire from a hilarious movie I love, Mean Girls, and it's true.
It is.
She's soft and has feelings on the inside, but at first glance, she's an abrasive person that people are hesitant to want to work with. And I think she'd probably be gone first from the King tribe. I'm assuming even if these 4 aren't all in alliance, they'd be able to stick together for 1 vote. I'm assuming Charlie and Caleb are probably working together at least. Maybe Jesse and Carla are in there too. I'm assuming Jesse and Dee were working together on OG David's tribe because they both come in with such a target.
Yeah.
I feel like the 2 of them would work together well. I know I said Jesse wouldn't work with Ricard in my mind because and I'm noticing as I'm talking, Ricard already went home. That's surprising. But
Yeah.
I feel like
Ricard
Jesse
was
and Dee would work together well, even though they both
second boot
like
of
to
this
drive.
game.
Do what?
Ricard was the second boot of this game.
I mean, so I'm watching Jesse and Dee, see if they both make the merge. But moving forward to the second tribe, and pronounce that blue one again for me.
Chaac, Chaac.
Chalk. It's 4-1 again, this time in favor of the Goliath.
Yeah.
The thing is, the one David has ties to one of the Goliaths.
Yeah.
Cassidy and Danny were both on. No, Danny was on Challenge USA 1. They weren't on the same season. Never mind.
They weren't on the same season, but they might know each other through that show. The challenge is a big community.
I feel like Danny might flip with be willing to work with Cassidy a little bit here. Looking at the 4 Goliaths on this tribe, you've got Danny, Jake, Maria, and Gabler.
It's a bizarre group.
I don't feel like any of those 4 would be working super closely with each other. So I feel like maybe one of them wants to make a resume move. 1 or 2 of them might want to get together, make a resume move, and pull in Cassidy. So I don't feel like she's as guaranteed to go home as
Venus
was. The last tribe is 3-2 in favor of the Goliaths. You've got Emily, Mike Turner, and Sydney, and you've got Dee and Tiffany. Dee feels like she should be the obvious target here. Only winner on this tribe, and she's Dee. That's really all you need, but I don't feel like she does go gut feeling. I feel like Tiffany maybe goes here.
All right.
They have to go to tribal.
Moving on. We have a location change.
Ooh.
So we started on the beach. Now we are merged, and the tribe is going to do the rest of this game Guatemala style and go live in the Coba Mayan Ruins.
That's awesome.
This is actually a pyramid that I'm planning to visit this upcoming December.
That is fantastic.
So I think that would be kind of neat in this game if they ever were to film another season. They won't, but in Mexico or in Central America, if you had either like the pre-merge game be on the beach and then the post-merge game in the jungle, or vice versa.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I love that.
All right, and our merged tribe of 12 is right there.
Oh, dang it, Dee's gone.
Yep.
I'm not surprised. This is real. That would be realistic.
It would be.
Jesse's still here. Caleb and Emily both made the merge. I'm assuming the 2 of them are going to link back up. They were each other's number 1 at one point. in the late pre-merge of 45. Carla and Maria, I could see them working together.
Yeah, I could see that. That's a good point.
Charlie and Maria, I don't know how that goes. I feel like that's kind of a Shan Ricard thing. I could see that going either way.
Yeah.
Cassidy and Carla, I still don't know what to do there. I feel like there's kind of this unspoken Cold War between them still going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will be interesting to see these dynamics progress.
All right. Let's get down into final six. And I should have mentioned just with the background, and now we see Coba Tribe for the first time ever, keeping with the Mayan theme. We have a tribe that is wearing buffs that are gold.
I love that.
Something we've never seen yet.
Correct.
Getting to our final six. Danny, Emily, Maria, Sydney, Venus, and Jam Jam. So Jam Jam's the only David left in the game.
So Sydney and Venus, we thought they'd butt heads. They've been working together this whole time. They've been
Put their differences aside.
They've been a new great duo of Survivor. The two of them have been rocking it this season. Maria's there too. I don't know if she's working with the two young women, but
I'll tell you from what I've seen before, something maybe we didn't talk about a pre-relationship, but I've seen this in the voting trends. Danny and Sydney have reconnected.
And I forgot about them, to be honest. I forgot they were as tight as they were in the 41 pre-merge.
And not only were they tight in the game, but the two of them are. Sydney's still tight with Danny and his wife Kiki today. They see each other all the time.
Yeah, so that trio, Sydney, Danny, and Venus, the three of them are definitely together. The thing is, Jam Jam, Maria, and Emily
could be
together. If the three of them stand a chance of making final three, they have to band together, but I don't feel like the three of them are probably united, so we'll see what happens.
And our final
What is this background, by the way? That's really cool looking.
This is the cenotes that you can go swimming in that are right near the Coba Mayan Ruins.
That's really cool.
You'll see in December, I'll post some pictures from inside of this big sinkhole. I'm going to go snorkeling in there.
That's really cool.
And time for our final three. Oh, sorry. We have fire making challenge first. So we have Danny wins immunity. He grants safety to Venus. And Sydney takes out Jam Jam in a final four fire making challenge.
So this trio, Sydney, Danny, and Venus, they've been working together from day one. They've made it all the way to the end here. Yep. This is really cool.
It is. Interestingly enough, it's Sydney that wins the fire making challenge. Something we've seen a lot of in Modern Survivor with an emphasis on that. And she wins the game.
That is awesome.
With an 8-2-0 vote. I mean, it wouldn't be New Era Survivor, sorry, Venus, if we didn't have a 0 vote finalist.
Yeah. I will say, on the one tribe, when we were at 3 tribes in a swap, I mentioned that I thought Tiffany and Dee were the targets on that tribe. Yep. And right after the swap, they went home back to back. So
yeah. So interesting note, just before we wrap up for our final three. I told you about Sydney winning the game after using immunity idol here to take out Danny. You see where Jesse goes home and we see that asterisk next to it?
Yeah.
Venus also used an immunity idol to take out Jesse.
Wow. Look at Regina go.
Went home on rocks at 4-4.
That is wild. Look at her go.
So we
2
had
medevacs.
Yeah, 2 medevacs for Jake and Caleb, and also 2 idol plays where the 2 successful idol plays went to the final 3. If you're listening 46 cast, play your idol.
Gosh. Emily goes home on a revote because it was tied the first time around.
Yeah.
This is wild.
Oh, it was. And that's our season.
So much fun. This was a ton of fun. I
Oh, it
love
was.
this season. This was a very fun cast. You did a great job. There's some interesting dynamics here that I would love to see play out. I love that you found a way to bring Jake back because I couldn't fit him into any of my three tribes, unfortunately, because mine was so specific. And I love that you brought my girl D back. That's always going to make me smile. This is such a fun cast. Like, there's no one here that I would say, no, I don't need to see that person again. You even had one person with Danny Massa that I was genuinely surprised to see. So
Yeah.
congratulations to you on that, because I didn't think any of these were going to be as surprising to me as that one was.
All right, want to go into Align Blindside first boot before we head out?
Yeah, are you going first or am I?
Sure, I have one, so I'll go. I'm going to give you three kind of unexpected names. Maybe not unexpected in the case of one, but that definitely names you didn't have on your cast. So your options are Carla, Danny Massa, and Kendra.
Interesting. I'm going to align with Kendra. I feel like me and her would work together well. She seems to play a very socially based game, which I feel like I'd be very socially based also, but I feel like we'd be able to plan. Neither one of us would be a mainly strategic based game, but we'd be able to plan together well and bounce ideas off of each other. I'm gonna first boot Danny, and the reason I'm not aligning with Danny is because we saw, like with Carolyn, for example, Danny has the ability to rub people the wrong way.
Makes sense.
And if he's in that mode and he's annoying people like he did with Carolyn that day at that reward where he just completely ignored her for no reason, I don't want to be tied to that and have him bring me down also.
Fair.
So I'll first boot him, and also I don't want any chance of him going up against me in fire if we're not aligned. So that's why I'm not blindside him. I don't want him to make the merge. So aligning with Kendra, blindsiding Danny, and that leaves me to blindside Carla, which is dangerous because I don't completely trust her to not be bitter with me about it. But oh well.
True. I am going to align with Carla. I think for a similar reason that you said. I don't trust her to not be bitter. In contrast, I think she really knows the game and could go very far. I'm going to blindside Danny for the same reason as we saw in his season. He can rub people the wrong way, but also can be a loyal ally and is someone who gave a great exit confessional. If you remember that, well, not confessional, but memorable moment with Jeff. And that would be funny to see again what he'd come up with. And that leaves me to first boot Kendra.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I'm thinking, do you remember who my three were last week? Because I don't want to repeat names.
Um,
If
I
not, it's
have.
fine.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I
so
would
I
if it
might,
wasn't 1 a.m.
yeah. And one, almost 1 a.m. for me, almost 2 for you, but
Yeah.
technical difficulties, oh well. So I am going to go with, I was gonna use D just because I absolutely love D. I don't want to repeat names. I'm afraid I used
Yeah.
her last week, so I'm gonna go with three people that weren't on my cast, so I know I won't repeat
Okay.
until I can go back and watch the footage from last week. And I'm going to go with Emily, Sydney, Venus.
Okay. And those are good picks. I'm going to align with Sydney in this case. I think we'd work very well together. Similar background in travel, similar background in some other issues. I'm going to blindside Emily. She can be a very dangerous player, but was able to be blindsided. That's usually something I look at for a blindside is has a previous cast successfully blindsided this person.
That's smart.
And Therefore, first boot Venus. If I'm aligning with Sydney, they work together in this game, but I don't think that they would work together in the real show. So probably best to eliminate her as soon as I can.
Yeah, that's really smart. Um, I'm probably aligning with Emily. She's I think she's proven to be the strongest player of these three. She's the only one that I feel confident saying me and that person can get to the end together.
Yeah.
I'll first boot Venus and blindside Sydney, but
Nice.
I that's those two are kind of interchangeable for me. But I'm definitely aligning with Emily, just because she became likable through this pre-merge metamorphosis she went through. So maybe she beats me at the end. I just don't know if I'm getting to the end with either of the other two, if I'm being honest. I didn't see enough of their game, and what we did see was they definitely both had allies, but they definitely rubbed some people the wrong way also. So I'm not sure how that would go for me.
Yeah. Well, that was fun.
This
Great
was
two-part
fun.
season. Two-part series.
Yeah.
Anything to add before for you? I know I have something to add, but anything you want to add before we head out?
No, just subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe Reality Realm Podcast Network on YouTube. Follow our shows on socials, Tribal Council Chat, Pit Stop Pals. Be watching out for Brett and TT Fernandez's challenge show that's coming out at some point.
Should be
I'm
in
not
about
on that
August.
project, so that's all I know about is that it's coming out at some point when the cast drops for the next season.
Yeah.
But be watching out for that and all of our content we're pushing out. It's a
What
lot.
I what I want to quickly add before we get going, because I know it's this week. We are, as you all know, a Survivor podcast that just happens to have two big hockey fans. Um, Behind it, Bruce, Stanley Cup prediction. We got Florida, we got Edmonton.
This series is going to be so much fun.
Oh, it will be.
On one hand, McDavid and Draisaitl both deserve to win a cup at this point. They're both just so incredible. McDavid is the only player in my lifetime I've seen people legitimately compare to Gretzky. So, but on Florida, you've got former Blue, was a Blue for 10 years at least, maybe 11 or 12. I'll have to look it up. Vladdy Tarasenko.
Who was a senator up until the trade deadline.
Yeah, for like half a season. I
Yeah.
forgot about that. And you've got Matthew Tkachuk, who's from St. Louis and whose dad played for the Blues towards the end of his career was when I was growing up, first started watching. So I remember watching Keith Tkachuk a tiny bit,
Yeah.
but probably rooting for Florida because of the St. Louis connections. But I'm gonna be genuinely thrilled for either of these teams. It's not like Colorado's in there like they were a few years ago, where I'm just
So you're saying Florida,
vehemently
how
rooting
many games?
against Colorado and was rooting against Nazem Kadri, who had taken our goalie out. I'm convinced the Blues would have beaten the Avs that year. We were the
Yes.
only team that challenged them.
So
But
you're
I
saying
digress. Colorado's out, and I'm happy they're out. I'm going to be so happy with either of these teams that wins.
so you say Florida, how many games?
Edmonton's too good to go away quickly. I'll say 7, and I'm
Florida in
rooting for
7?
Florida, but I'll be thrilled if McDavid and Draisaitl get a cup.
I'm gonna go Edmonton in 6. Bring the cup back home. It's
Yeah.
been way too long. I was 1 year old when the Montreal Canadiens won it.
What was that, 93? I looked this
93,
up the other day.
the last time a Canadian team won, and it's time that came to an end.
I mean, the Stanley Cup hasn't been in St. Louis in 5 years. It's time to change that. It won't change next year. We'll be back in the playoffs, I think. But
Hopefully.
yeah. So this was a fun episode. Check us
Yeah,
out.
this was fun.
Also, this will be actually up and running by the time this episode drops. The Reality Realm has Twitter now
Yeah.
at Reality Realm Pod, I believe, because
Yep.
Twitter has a
Reality
limit
Realm
on
Pod.
characters apparently for usernames.
15.
So we'll be pushing out content for all our shows on there also, which isn't entirely functional yet, but it will
And
be by the time this drops. So
when it is, I'll show the links on other social media that already has a following, so you guys can all find our Twitter there.
yeah, Brett will share it from our page. I'll share it from the Pit Stop Pals page, but just follow, keep up with our content. We're putting out a lot more than we used to. So with that being said, grab your torches and head back to camp. Bye,
Good
everyone.
night.